What's up, Packers Nation? You had to endure Bears and the purple incarnation of the devil in Vikings, but now it's your time. It's episode 15. Here we are in Green Day. Oh, Green Day? Perhaps Green Day is better than Green Bay. What do you think? I really like Green Day though. In the Green Bay War Room, preparing for the draft. This is how I envision their draft needs. You can see just really quick glance on what I think about them. If that's all you need, well, be my guest, take a look and decide for yourself if you want to dig deeper. If you do, here's what you're gonna get. You will get reasoning for everything that I think about each of these rooms, why I think about this, and in terms of slight preview for NFL draft, it's coming in just a couple of days and I will be live for you. So hope you can join me. Now, no further ado, let's start. It's Jordan Love for the QB room. It's solved. There is no need to talk about it. Bring Desmond Ridder as a backup, I think ticked a lot of people because they have been a company and used to Malik Willis for 2 years, which was a freaking great backup. Now the room diminished very significantly. At the same time, what Desmond Ridder gives you is if he needs to go out there, you can lock into good games. He can also be absolutely atrocious. So interesting choice of backup. They also have Kyle McCord, who I would kind of believe have a better chance than Desmond Ridder, but we will just have to wait and see if reclamation project that they can do with the quarterbacks can work even on Desmond Ridder. Nevertheless, this is not the room they are investing in. And I think the same applies towards their running back. Josh Jacobs is their one. Now, he proved for 2 years now in the Green Bay that he absolutely can take that workload. He was not as effective as he was in 24 last year, but I would still rank him easily in my top 10 of the running backs. Now, in terms of backups, they have lost Emmanuel Wilson, and there is not much that I like. Chris Brooks, Marshawn Lloyd. So if you can argue that this should be viewed as like more high tier 3 or even like low tier 2, in terms of backups, I would understand you. At the same time, they kind of are clear about giving Josh Jacobs like 80% of the targets, 80% of the snaps. If he goes down, I think they will fix it by trades. And if he doesn't, does the 20% that you are giving to someone else matter that much? Like it does, but not to a degree that in running back bad type of draft I would necessarily spend high resources. Nevertheless, there are some flavor of running backs that you can still get 5th, 6th round, so that's where I do expect them to invest, even though I don't view this as like any great need. Now, in terms of their wide receivers, more interesting conversation. They have just traded Dontavian Wicks, which is something that I have not accompanied when I was putting this together. So I will just talk about this right now. It was interesting trade because it leaves that wide receiver room in much more volatile situation in terms of depth. Nevertheless, they have 3 starters in Matthew Golden, Jalen Reed, and Christian Watson. The problem is Christian Watson is injured quite a lot. The question is about their future, because if I'm not mistaken, Jalen Reed has only 1 year left on his deal, or am I mistaken on this one? Let me recheck. No, just 1 more year. The same applies to Christian Watson. So for 27, you are not necessarily certain what type of room you are looking at. Matthew Golden, when he was on the field, he was fine, but they kind of underutilized him. So like, what are their interior feeling about him? I would say with Dontavian Wicks' departure and the uncertainty about Reed and Watson's future, I would push this as like a low tier 2 need because it's fine right now. You have Savion Williams also as a wide receiver for special packages. You can definitely use him, but you can absolutely use another body right now. And looking at 27, it seems like that guy that you perhaps spend 2nd or 3rd round this year can get a starting job pretty quickly. Now, in terms of tight end, I don't think there is too much to talk about rather than Tucker Kraft, how great he's going to come back, because he was exceptional, then he went down. Can he recover what was absolute breakout year? And if he does, he can quickly become top 5 tight end in the league. Next to him, you have Luke Musgrave, who is still like a real value for this room as like a useful tight end too. Though neither of these guys, if I'm not mistaken, are signed for next season. They are not, yes. So with that, slight uncertainty about how great Tucker Kraft is going to be after he comes back from injury, and most likely you don't want to prolong Musgrave. You want to save some money. I would look at this as another like high tier 3 where it's absolutely fine to look at third round, fourth round type of tight ends, improve, boost this room, bring immediate backup, and a guy that could be your tight end too in 27. But I would not push it further than that because I really do expect them to re-sign at least Tucker Kraft to be their tight end one of the future. So I really like would push hardly against like spending anything higher than like late day 2 pick. Now, that offensive line is a much more interesting conversation because as you look at it, they have 5 bodies that they value the versatility of the offensive line, and as a starting 5, it's not bad. It's not great either because you have Aaron Banks starting, you have Anthony Belton starting, Jordan Morgan. Like there's a lot of projection, a lot of hoping that Aaron Banks actually plays to his contract, but like it's fine starting 5. And the good thing is, if one guy goes down, you can kind of reshuffle it. The problem is, when somebody goes down, you need to have someone to shuffle in, and they just don't have anybody, in my opinion, that I would trust. So, to me, the depth of this room is absolutely depleted. They let go of several players, and they did not let go of Aaron Banks, which was mind-staggering for me. Like, okay, like I was not happy how they like moved with this offensive line, but nevertheless, here it is. So as a whole, offensive line is a tier 1 need. Like I cannot envision them going from this draft and not spending a premium resource, which is at least day 2 pick, an early day 2 pick on this offensive line. I would consider that pretty crazy, or I can give them slight benefit of doubt because they can do with late round offensive linemen. They are one of the best developers of the room. So if they're like, okay, perhaps we don't want to spend premium, but on day 3 we will spend like 4 picks on guys that we trust we can develop into like good backups or potentially even like high-end starters. They're a team that I'm willing to give this benefit of the doubt. And especially when they don't have a first round pick, maybe they will say like, okay, like we at least have starting 5 here. We kind of don't want to spend their premium resources. But man, that offensive line, if one guy goes down, it gets down pretty quicker. Like unless they kind of believe in Travis Glover, Jacob Bank from last year, as we already developed them enough for us to be the starters, but I'm not so sure about that. Now, switching towards defense. Edge, to me, is absolutely fine. Even though you let Rashawn Gary go, Lucas Van Ness, I think, is absolutely poised and ready for being that edge 2 opposite of Micah Parsons, who obviously a lot of offensive line is going to gravitate, is going to give resources, try to stop him, even though that's pretty much impossible. Micah is just freaking awesome. If there's one thing about this room, beside these 2 guys, and with Micah, we don't know if he's going to be like 100% for week 1. There is not too much depth. I kind of like Baron Sorrell much more as an edge 4. So like I would probably ship this towards a high tier 3, and you should look for an edge 3 solution for years to come. Now, the conversation is slightly less positive in terms of their interior, even though on surface they have more bodies in Javon Hargrave, Devontae Wyatt, and Carl Brooks. Like those are probably like they have a better DT3 than that they have edge 3. That's sure. But here I am much more about like, all right, where is the like a top end talent? Also, where is the future? Because the only guy signed for 27 is Javon Hargrave, age 33. It's time to think about this room. It really is. And like a guy that can be used as DT4 right now, but is going to shift to as high as DT2 next year, that's a need. Like it might not sound like it, but with defensive linemen, I am not willing to put the risk. And like low-key something that we have just noticed about the offensive line and defensive line of the Packers, they are freaking thin, which is kind of weird because for years, like, they had a ton of bodies. They were good at developing. They were really, like, we have depth in our offensive line. We have depth in our defensive line. It's not the case. Like, right now, they are very, very thin. And as much as you absolutely love Micah Parsons, it's one part of when you trade for such a superstar and you spend a lot of picks and even guys from your own defensive line to get him, you start to get thinner. You are heavy on top, but thin on the back end. It's time to get much broader in your, like, founding blocks. And I would really say that defensive tackle and overall defensive line should be where you start. But that's also the case for your offensive line. So line, and line. I think that's clear focus of the Packers for this draft. Linebacker, I don't think you need to add anything. I'm just such a huge fan of Edge of Darkness, Aaron Cooper. I think he is just a super player. Really, really fun to watch. Like, is he Fred Warner? No. Is he Roquan Smith? Not there. Is he Zach Bond or like this, let's say, tier 2.5? Not yet there. He's just so fun to watch, man. And he's their LB1. Next to him, bring Zaire Franklin as your experienced LB2. Very, very fine. The future, they have invested in some guys. It's not such a long time ago that they perhaps hope that some of the linebackers will still develop. There is fine enough depth for me to just not touch this room anytime in this draft. Now, in terms of the secondary, it gets murky because safety, very nice. Like, Xavier McKinney. Why do I have Tucker McKinney? Well, freaking AI. Like, they cannot just do it. Sorry, it's obviously Xavier. It's not Tucker. And Evan Williams. Plus Jamal Bullard there, who they probably view as more of a nickel corner starter. But he is definitely a depth for that safety room. That's very, very nice trio and one of the better safety rooms overall that we can find across the year, across the entirety of the NFL. It absolutely can be top 5, like within the scope of this year, if Evan Williams continues to improve, which I think is definitely in the realm of possibility. Now, in terms of their corners, the discussion and talk gets much more murky because Jamal Bullard, okay, so let's say he's your slot corner, but like that takes away from the depth of your safety room. But who are your starters on the outside? Right now, it's Carrington Valentine and Keyshawn Nixon. The backup is Benjamin St-Juste and pretty much no one else. And like, you have heard me talk it, for example, with the Bears, that like having a fine room could be fine. You cannot have like every room cannot be great. But man, do I think this room can be absolutely trouble in the playoffs? Hell yes. Like with the Bears edge, for example, I think they cannot be necessarily positive or something that drags you towards the victory, but I don't think they will necessarily be a liability. This room can absolutely be a liability. Depth, not existent. Quality, very questionable. Like, I cannot envision them looking at this room and not feeling at least like high tier 2, we need to bring at least a second round body here. But like, it's weird to say at least second round because they only have second round this year. But man, I would be worried like facing this CB room against a lot of wide receivers that they will face in the playoffs. One saving grace and something that Packers have been able to kind of count on last year, and it slightly or like pretty much all fell apart when Micah got injured, is we are superior in terms of we will create pressure very, very soon because we have freaking Micah Parsons, which will protect our corners. I get that. At the same time, you don't know if Micah is going to be 100%. I would say overall your defensive line is worse than it was last year. You lost a couple of pieces. You don't have depth for the CB room, and you have lost your defensive coordinator who, you know, for like some crap that he was given, like he was really doing just enough with this defense. And it's not just him. You have also lost your linebacker coach last year, who was really like, you have lost a lot of coaching for your defense that I think was able to shade this very murky CB room. I think they could get exposed this season. So I really do believe this room needs very clear look at, and I would be shocked if they don't go into day 2 with CB have big in their priority list. So that was your Packers. What do you think, Packers Nation? Was I right? Was I wrong? How do you feel about your team entering the draft? See you with the next one.